So, hi, I'm the second to last person here today. I expected crickets, and here you all are looking at me. So, without further ado, the world is a changing place. Things we thought were possible only in science fiction are now everyday commonplace occurrences. And we're still minting lawyers in the same tired way. It's time to wake up. Our students are always on, always in touch, and always being recorded. They collaborate physically alone with just the use of technology. And when they're together in groups, they sit next to each other and text one another. Right? Tell me you haven't seen that, okay? Our students are multitaskers. Their attention spans come in short bursts, and they're getting shorter every day. You get 5 minutes of them in lecture, and then they're off someplace else. Okay? So what do we do about these students? Our millennial students are first-person shooter gamers, they're strategic gamers, and they're social gamers. They don't know anything about DICE or Milton Bradley, right? They know EA games. They know Sony. They know PlayStation, and they know Nintendo. So it's our obligation to change, to allow our pedagogy to evolve, to meet our students where they live, not just bring them to us. Now, all of these approaches that we've talked about today, they're not going to work for everybody, and they're not going to be appropriate for every class, right? Some professors are going to say, ooh, that game thing, that's pretty dodgy. Okay? And other folks are going to say, where has this been all of my life? Okay? I would encourage you, when you're reaching for new tools before it's game over for all of us, we need to be thinking about them. And I'd encourage you to think about games. So, the real problem with the word games is computer games are considered a guilty pleasure, right? I have a colleague, she insists on taking Snooki with her for every computer upgrade. Snooki, like 20 years ago, Snooki, it's a game. She says it's a mental health concession. Okay? So, with these guilty pleasures, people don't use the term game. They use terms like educational simulation, right? Virtual learning environment. And my personal favorite, scored digital hypotheticals. Okay? So what are games? If those things aren't games, well, they are games. Okay? Games are rule-driven play to accomplish a set of goals. Think about that, rule-driven play to accomplish a set of goals. Now, what's the problem with this definition? The word play. Play is not serious. Play is fun. It's frivolous. It doesn't have purpose, right? I would encourage you to think and consider that play, much like learning, can have serious purpose and be enjoyable and be fun. So, who are these gamers? And who are our law students? Turns out they have a lot of similarities. Gamers are competitive. They're focused. They're attentive to detail. They're driven to accomplish goals. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Okay. So here we are. We're talking about the same people. So the profiles fit. They match. So, how do these games come together for us, right? Well, what are they doing for the law students? Okay, they increase retention because when we play games, neuroscience says when we play a game, we're actually building neural pathways in our minds so that when we play them over and over again, we're retaining the information. Okay? And it's a bit like exercise, right? So you focus, you lift, you repeat, right? Okay? And who doesn't want bigger legal muscles, right? Okay. Basic psychological drivers of games: purpose, mastery, accomplishment, and social interaction drive games. And they drive learning. Okay? This is nothing new. We've been doing it when we teach in classrooms for years. Games can motivate and engage our students. And this undoubtedly is my favorite part of games. We talked about before creating this safe environment where we feel okay about failing. Okay? The student who doesn't want to raise their hand in class can sit and work on a game and fail. And you know what happens? The game says, whoops, try this way. And they try it that way, and they succeed. And we have created a successful learning and teaching moment through a game. Students can sit in a class all year in a first-year class and never get that kind of immediate feedback that's so critical to learning. Because what is failure without feedback? The games give that immediate feedback. We're not talking about failing by themselves. We're not talking about being out there without that meter, that thing that says, and here's what you did wrong, and here's how to improve. You can go, you can look at these resources, and you can find out more information. So let's let the games begin. They've already begun. Callie, how many of you know Callie? We've been doing it for years, right? Lexis has a new series of evidence games and challenge series. And their challenge series, something I worked on over the last year, which brings me to my next point. It's a rise to this particular challenge. If you're a law professor and you want to create a game, it's not easy. An evidence game was 450 pages. 160 different options for pathways through each question, and there were 30 questions. Gives you an idea of the kind of overhead, and that was just the legal piece of doing that game. That didn't include the design or the developers. Okay. So it's a pretty high bar, and we need to know that before we head out there and engage in these games. And the process is a bit like making sausage, okay? Things go in, and they come out the other side, and you don't know what happened. For example, we created both sides, both a defense side and a prosecution side. Students got to pick which side they were on. About halfway through the process, the game developer said, "What do you mean the prosecution can object? I didn't set it up for that." So clearly, when we're thinking about those sorts of things, you know, it's important for us to engage our developers and have round-robin meetings. And we're learning a lot in these processes. And these are baby steps, right? I like to call the game I created a choose-your-own-adventure, which it really, in fact, was, okay? But it's complicated, and all of the answers are correct, and they lead people down different paths for legal reasoning, and they're good teaching tools. So we've created a great foundation in games. We have a lot of different opportunities out there, but there are plenty of opportunities for everybody to jump in and try. And what I'd like to see is a tool like PowerPoint, right, that doesn't scare the pants off of everybody, that allows us to engage in this process of creating games. Because we don't have that tool right now, and the burden is too high. So as we develop more and more tools, we can create games. So game on, everybody.